Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The K, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 191.
Ooh,
back this week.
Almost to 200,
I know,
man.
right?
Holy cow.
How the hell have we done this 200 times? We've watched so much crap.
A few good ones.
Feel pretty good, some, but I think the crap outweighs the good, in my opinion. Either way, this week was Jay's pick.
It was a good one.
It was not a crappy documentary. I think we both can agree on that. It is called How Music Got Free, and it talks a story about how in the mid to late 90s, during the CD boom, a small town was basically responsible for all of us getting albums when we shouldn't have.
You guys know you were downloading music for free, you pirates.
Let's talk about
thieves.
That. Let's talk about that perspective first. In the mid to late 90s, I was one of the lucky ones that actually got myself a burnable CD. So I would say probably 97, 98.
That was, man. Remember when you got that first? You could actually burn your own CD.
I never bought a new album. I never bought a new CD again forever. Anyone that got a new one come to my house, can I rip that? And then rip it. So in a sense, that was one way.
Well, I was happy to put my own music, I'd record music and put it on a CD.
Dude,
my demo.
Dude. Yeah. When we could upload them to MySpace and all that stuff, that was just like completely. You were like, oh my god, as a musician, that was pretty cool. As a consumer, LimeWire and Napster definitely changed everything for me, because as obsessed as I am about music, even as far back as to this point in the mid 90s, I'd hear songs on commercials and be like, oh my God, what's that? That would lead me to find out the artist. And then you don't want to go to a record store or Borders or whatever and buy a CD for $25, $30 based off of 30 seconds of a song that you may or might not like. So what do? You rip it.
Allegedly.
We
don't want to say that Mike the Intern stole the music off the internet. Seems how he deals with record labels every week.
Well, that's the thing. I think in essence, artists obviously aren't getting a fair shake when it comes to streaming services, but at least it's something. Music isn't free, especially. I mean, it kind of is and it isn't. It is in the sense of a radio like we work in, because
it's
you don't
a very
have to pay attention to
interesting
listen to it,
scene,
but you don't get any choice in that. Same thing with kind of Pandora, but Spotify, if you pay a month, you get to listen to access so much music. It's like there is no way you're going to get to the end of that ever, because there's new stuff being released all the time.
Well,
stuff that we are still finding out from eras that we play all the time.
I mean, it changed. You'd have to buy the cassette or buy the album, and all of a sudden you could get free music. And the part of the documentary that was crazy was when the record label execs were in a meeting and somebody came in there with a computer and was like, look at this, and all their artists were free.
But
changed the game, man.
But they, honestly, and this was driven home, is who, even though the labels are upset about that,
they were screwing the artist anyway.
They were already screwing the artist to begin with.
The one that
some of the artists were like,
the biggest hit was the labels took the biggest hit. The suits.
And how they did that, my friend, is something they're actually doing again right now as we speak. And we'll talk more about that, how music got free, Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 191, how music got free. So Jay mentioned at one point a guy comes in with a computer and shows him, brings up LimeWire, like, look at all these records they can get for free. Well, before that, it was very interesting because it all makes perfect sense now to me. Especially, I think I kind of knew this, or had the feeling about this, but after seeing it, it definitely hit home. Okay, so in the mid to late 70s, music flatlines, music purchasing level flatlines. You have all these great artists and stuff, but it's not increasing. Why? Well, because at a certain point, you can't get, people already have these records, right? Or there is only a certain amount of people in public that are buying new albums, or so eventually that's just going to flatline until they come out with a new awesome technology, crystal clear digital CD. So now everyone that had massive record collections are giving those away for free. That's where I come in and go get them really cheap at the thrift stores and all those stuff. That's where I started collecting when everyone started getting them away. And then they rebuy all those albums they have now on digital. And the record labels are swimming in cash. And that was a big thing. Like now, an album comes out, it's like a surprise. You're like, oh my God, they just released a record? Nothing. Back then, when they would release an album, it was like a movie premiere.
Oh, yeah, it was a big deal.
Labels had so much damn money to throw at that crap. It was unbelievable.
Videos, MTV, ads, magazines.
Marketing. dudes jumping out of airplanes.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally sky's the limit. And why? Because again, it just surged. Everyone's buying CD players. They're rebuying their album collections.
And
then
I
on
think
top
the
of
markup
new
was better on CDs,
oh
right,
my
than
God,
vinyl.
what was like cost $1 to make it?
Yeah, and they were
Maybe
selling for huge bucks,
30
right?
at the beginning. Like I still to this day remember walking to like Borders, like bookstores, and they were like the most expensive. CDs were like 35 plus. I mean, it's just like insane, right? Well, guess what, guys? They're doing it to you again.
Mhm.
All of you that sold your record collections that are getting back into vinyl, you're rebuying those albums.
I noticed albums are expensive. I
On top
don't
of the
buy
fact-
them, but I did. My kid was looking, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe these
dude.
old albums they're new, they're expensive."
There is a case to be made for the audiophile. For example, there are represses of albums that might not have sounded good when they came out. They've repressed them using the original masters. Sometimes that works out and it sounds better. But again, they're doing it all over again. It's essentially, but it's crazy to me because now vinyl records is the most physical sold media over CDs,
right? Which
and
is
so
crazy,
now everyone's
right?
rebuying their stuff, and you got all these kids that never bought CDs in their life that they're starting record collections.
Yep,
So there's a lot of money to be made. Unfortunately for the label,
a lot of scams.
There were two dudes that basically just two guys that ran this whole thing, which
Amazing.
blows my mind.
Amazing that it was some teenage kids, really, basically.
That's the thing.
Behind
and we'll
all
get
this.
to this in the meat of this
Incredible.
documentary next. 104.7 The Cave. 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 191, How Music Got Free. So we talked about, or at least I did, my own personal pirating experience, why the labels were so pissed off about it. And really, I as a kid, again, when you would find albums that just got released or hadn't been released at all yet, you had to think like, well, is there someone like individually in each one of these camps, like someone working with this artist that's like, oh yeah, that gets passed around. Maybe it's a DJ that got, access to it earlier and uploads it. No, man, for the most part, two individuals.
Yeah, teenagers, basically young kids who kind of get with a computer. What a scam. What a great hustle these guys figured out, man. They had a guy that worked at the CD printing plant.
Maybe, and that community,
that one little spot would go around the world and everybody got free music from that one dude.
It's crazy. For one, they used that place to build the CD manufacturing plant. Secondly, pretty much everyone in that community either wanted to work or worked there. But again, yeah, it came down to just one guy. And I remember too, they came down hard. Like for a while, the thought was like you could go to serious prison time if you got caught
pirating music.
I never got popped when I was living with my parents. The only time I ever got popped was years later. I'm gonna sound like the biggest nerd in the world.
Uh-oh.
Whenever they were airing the final season of Battlestar Galactica on Sci-Fi, I had to go camping with a bunch of friends for some kind of thing, and I was gonna miss the last episode.
Here we go.
So
you teased me for Backstreet Boys.
Dude, Battlestar Galactica is arguably one of the greatest sci-fi dramas of all time.
The nerd is strong with this one.
Let me ask you, have you watched it?
I've seen some. Yeah, when I was
watched
a kid.
An entire episode, not the 70s Battlestar Galactica. I'm talking about the redo in the early 2000s.
No, I'm talking about the 70s.
No, that's not what I'm talking about, dude. I'm talking about the one they redid in the early 2000s. Watch it. I have listened to the Backstreet Boys and it's trash. Until you've watched the most recent Battlestar Galactica, you have no foot to stand on.
That's the sweeper for this one right here.
And when he's calling us out, call him between the hours of 3 and 7, 417-863-7104, and give this man all your hate. Either way, I got popped because I was downloading it when I got back from camping. All my internet was shut down.
What happened?
Everything was shut down. I was like, I tried to get online. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I saw an email. It basically said, it's so like
from your service provider or from
it was through, I want to say if it was Mediacom or AT&T. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically like you got popped from this company for doing this. All you have to do is print this out, sign it, and then send it back, and then we'll turn you back on. That's it. That's all I had to do.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously I never got caught later, but yeah, that's the one time I got in trouble for downloading something illegal, and it was a TV show, not music. Either way, you obviously haven't got popped.
No, I would grab songs and stuff like that, and I remember. I mean, the biggest one that I remember doing was that new Spider-Man movie had come out, and I was trying to download that, but I know it was taking like days and days. I don't think I ever really got it. The one that had the Twin Towers, controversial scene,
I'm
deleted
surprised
scene.
you being the guy that you are in the freaking hustle and the scams that you weren't in some sort of bootleg movie turnaround.
Oh, I was
selling that copy of Spider-Man down on Hollywood Boulevard for $5 a pop.
I was doing some bootlegging of karaoke songs because a buddy had discs of like he purchased
that
all.
You would
the,
have to buy.
You used to have to carry around a booklet of
when
you ran karaoke.
Yeah.
When the CD ripper came, I go, I could just rip all these. It was a CDR plus or whatever, so you could also have the visuals.
Yeah.
So I bootlegged his entire karaoke catalog, so that I'd have my own.
And then he had a gig for a long time after that. Made it release a lot better than selling bootleg copies of movies on the streets. Either way, we'll come back with our reviews of this documentary next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio one more time. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 191. How music got free. In the end, I think I don't really think there's a clear winner or loser in here.
Yeah, nobody really got too busted either.
No.
He's got all these teenagers, little clique of guys that were responsible for all this.
I mean, you look about how much money is to be made in the music industry via album sales, merch, and or live music, and we're still fighting that battle with the government and Live Nation and Ticketmaster and all these labels.
Yeah, the scam just went to
Spotify
tickets now.
And
Service fees.
And rebuying your vinyl collection and all these things. At the end of the day, you got your money. You speak with your money, and that's the big. And we all decide what's worth it to us and what's not worth it to us. I will pay that Spotify subscription forever because I have to listen to music 24/7. And when I find out about a band or a group that I've never heard of before or someone that's new, I want to always listen to it. Again, I just want to have an idea. I don't buy off the cover. I buy with what I hear. So again, thanks to you dudes on the East Coast of this country for allowing me to get access to a lot of music when I was a kid that I otherwise would not have had access to.
It was a good documentary. It was
Definitely
really amazing to see that it all stemmed from a few teenagers.
They had no idea.
Clue. No idea.
No idea. I know I thought about this and I many times in my life that I go, where did all this crap come from? Now we know.
Who knew?
And thank you, brothers, for doing it. I appreciate you very much. And so does my CD booklets that are just packed to the brim with a bunch of recordable CDs. As we do, how many recordable CDs would you give this documentary?
I'll give it a good 4.
Yeah, I would agree.
Great story.
Solid 4.
It's nice.
It was a very good documentary.
It seemed pretty concise. It was only 2 episodes, right? It was nice. It wasn't drawn out.
And they had a really good, a lot of industry people, producers, musicians, record A&R guys. Obviously, the people that worked at the plant too, but they actually got some access.
Talk to the actual guys. Teenagers that did it.
You could tell we're still a little burnt about
some of those guys. Eminem's in there talking about it.
I was still pretty pissed.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Jimmy, you stole stuff too. So you know, stop dragging my heart around, bud. Shouldn't have stole that song from Tom Petty. It's karma, my friend. Either way, next week it's my pick. It's a very short documentary about the Brat Pack. It's called Brats on Hulu, and it should be short, but it should be pretty.
The Brat Pack.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yep, I do.
And those kids,
the pretty boys.
Yeah, the pretty boys. Well, they, Judd, he was the tough dude. He was the J of the group. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah. Either way, we'll discuss that next week. As always, you can watch these live, Facebook or YouTube at 9 a.m. on Thursday. Listen to them for free as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app, or during my show at 9 a.m. or Jay's show at 6 p.m. Again, I'm Mike the Intern. That's Jay Stevens. We watch movies
documentaries,
so you don't have to.
to.
It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.